Well, I believe the correct terminology is she's been ridden hard and put away wet. If you guys are fans of the channel, this is the A10 we did in our previous shop, which would now be maybe about 4 years ago. So it's been a minute since we've seen this aircraft. We've seen it lots on the channel. So we've got a lot planned for this Skymaster A10. It's getting a spa treatment and a facelift. So let's take a look at what we're doing. So the first thing we're doing is, or probably the biggest thing we're doing, is we are giving it a facelift. Now what does that mean? Well, we are repainting it. So the goal when this plane is done is it's going to look like this one. So it's getting the black snake scheme installed on the aircraft. So we've got all the paint matches done to this one. This is the Skymaster scheme that came from the factory, the most recent one we've completed. So we are going to be repainting this aircraft. That's kind of the number one thing, or the biggest thing. We've got a bunch of repairs. I was looking at it yesterday. We'll take a deeper dive as we start pulling this thing apart. So we are doing repairs on the aircraft. We've got a nose door to install. We've got a wing pylon to install, but that's kind of not a big deal because they need to get painted anyways. We've got a compressor to replace. We've got glass for the canopy to redo as well. So the owner left this in his trailer and it got a little bit warm, or maybe this was outside in the field, I can't remember. But anyways, you can see there the canopy glass is messed. So we're also changing the battery setup in this aircraft as well. So previously when we did this aircraft, I think we used like 5 batteries in total. So we used two cell life batteries for the receiver. We used three cell LiPo batteries for the stuff on the aircraft. Now we're simplifying things and we are just going to be installing 4 3-cell 4,000 milliamp batteries. So that's these guys right here. So we've changed things up a little bit since we've redid this or did this aircraft originally. So this would be the standard battery setup for like a scale aircraft that we normally do. So 2 of the batteries are, to keep it simple, 2 of the batteries go into the central box, 2 of the batteries are for the turbines, and these batteries will be split off to various things depending on what we need to power, like lights. So, and that brings up the final thing that I can think of as far as big changes go, and we're installing a full Unilite scale system to this aircraft as well, which is the same thing we did on the A10 that's over there, the actual Black Snake one. So that is the list of things we're doing: spa treatment, facelift, some liposuction, tummy tuck, all that kind of stuff is happening to this aircraft. So let's take a look at some of the things that I've noticed. I believe the owner also wants me to build a new cradle for this aircraft, just like that one over there. This setup has not really fared so well. I just noticed this yesterday. The saddle here has completely caused a massive crack in this fuselage. You can see there, the former work is sitting back here. The airplane slid back a little bit and it was resting on its unsupported area. I know this has been a bit of a struggle because you can see the wood here supporting these saddles. These saddles did flex down, so that's the biggest thing that I noticed. Obviously the canopy, we've got a new nose door which has been ordered. The other one came off, or it's the original door. We just need to rehinge it. I think that is kind of the gist of most of the stuff that I've been able to see. I don't think there's anything back here because that's pretty well supported. So anyways, that's the stuff, guys. So we're going to take you through this entire process as detailed as possible. I'm not going to show you how to paint stuff, but I will show you, kind of the process that we're using, installing the Unilites, all that kind of stuff. I'll keep it as detailed as possible. So the first big thing that we need to do is we need to disassemble this aircraft as much as we can. So kind of the big things to take off here is the horizontal stab on the back end. So we need to remove this. We need to pull our verticals or rudder surfaces off. We're going to take the engine nacelles off And that's kind of the big initial stuff. Now, fortunately, with this aircraft, the lines on it are very similar to the Black Snake scheme. Now, this aircraft does have two different grays. I'm sure it's showing up on camera, but it's not super obvious because the grays are so similar. So if you look here, you'll see, I'm trying to keep this far away, but if you look here, there's darker gray, lighter gray. Now this line is the same line that we're using, or that is on the other A10 over there. There's also on the nacelles here, we've got lighter gray here, darker gray starts right there. Again, not super obvious, but it is there. So the actual Black Snake scheme is not super complicated, but yeah, it's a fun one to do. I haven't taken the wings out of the bags yet. I'm crossing my fingers that there's not any significant damage to the wings either, so we'll see. All right, so I'm a little worried about these wings, so let's see how they're doing. Again, I haven't opened these things up yet, so I don't know. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, we got fuel all over the wing. I think the owner had a bit of an incident with some fuel. All right, so, you know, it actually looks so far okay. Yeah, everything looks good. So we've got a missing pylon here. That's that one got torn off in a off-runway incident. Wingtips all okay. These wingtips on the A10s are quite fragile, so it feels like I'm pushing on a thin piece of paper right here. So you do have to be very careful with those. But you know, it's looks okay. That's not bad. So that's good. Positive. One wing is okay. All right, now, wing number 2. Alrighty, so top side, I think these marks here are just from the overflow tanks, I believe is what they're from. So overall that looks okay. I'll flip this around. All right, so that is so the reason this is collapsing like this is the legs they don't have any air in them, so that's why they're very soft right now. So the air is leaked out of the legs, probably from sitting for so long, which isn't really a good sign because you don't want that air to leak out, but we'll take a look at it and see. But otherwise, pylons are all mounted and everything, so that's good. Good. So the wings overall are in okay shape. We don't have any major damage or anything. We've got some paint missing on pylons, which, you know, isn't a big deal. Those all need to come off anyways. When we're painting, we take the flaps off. Yeah, so there's quite a bit of it that actually is going to come off during the painting process. And just taking a little closer look at this wing, this is the wing tip that had the little scale piece that sticks off. It fell off, or it came off on the off-runway trip. So that's what it should look like over here. But I believe on the last one, we actually ended up taking these guys off anyways. Yeah, you can see there, this one's almost coming off. And we put the Unilite here in its place. So we're probably gonna end up taking that one off as well too. So, all right, so next thing we're gonna remove is the tail section. So tail section, pretty straightforward. I believe this comes off as one piece, but we will take this apart in pieces because we need to get these verticals off. So we just take the cover plate off here, and there's 2 screws holding the vertical onto the horizontal. Now, the other thing that's important during a refit like this is, you know, you want to be checking things over. That's an important thing. You know, this aircraft has been transported a ton, it's been flown some. Obviously, it's, you know, got some wear marks and rough patches on it. So as we take things apart and dive into things, you really want to make sure you're checking the structure and just making sure everything's good. Obviously, this is the time to do any fixes, reinforcements, like we saw on that nose section of the aircraft right here underneath the holder. So yeah. All right, tail sections are off. Again, those are just 2 bolts through there. We initially had the servo lead coming through, and that was heat shrunk to the connector. And then our horizontal stab came off. Those have ashlock connectors, so that was pretty simple to remove. So that stuff is all good. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pop our nacelles off. Now in order to get the nacelles off, we are going to be pulling the engines out. So the engines are marked left and right, so we can pop our plug out, our fuel line out. We're going to end up taking the pipe out, and I believe from memory there's 2 screws holding the nacelles into the fuselage. Now some of the original Gen 1, I think you call them, A10s, I believe this was one piece. So the nacelles kind of all came off together, but there's been many years now that they're separate pieces. So there's 2 carbon rods in here, so they just slide out. So it's actually pretty easy to pop those guys off as well too. So next thing we'll do is pop those out. All right, and while we take these engines out, we want to make a little plug for the fuel line. So we just give it a little torch treatment, squish the end off, and then we get the engine out of the aircraft and make sure we plug the fuel line. Now we'll do the same thing on the aircraft side. So we've got lots of excess fuel line here, so we will just do the same thing, give that a quick torch and squish it off. We just don't want to get any dust or anything in this fuel tubing, and so when we're ready to reinstall this, we just clip it off with our proper cutters, making a nice cut, and reinstall it in the aircraft or the engine. Now as far as the nacelles go, the forward bolt or fastener is right there. The rear one is back there, which is behind the pipe. So we're going to pull these pipes out as well too, and that'll expose the rear fastener. I can see it. It's right back there. All right, and pipe, just 2 fasteners, and that guy comes out. Oh, these are all marked previously from when we put this aircraft together, so we do have a right and an up mark on here. You can see the pipes are fairly specific, or very specific. So we've got some up angle on them as well too. So that's all part of the aircraft design. So those come out. And then now we've got full access to our nacelle fasteners, and those guys should be a 3. Yes, they are. Now when we paint these nacelles, we are going to leave the inside gray. We painted the gray originally, and we're going to be painting the outside. Obviously, I think it's pretty much all black. No, maybe there's two colors on it, but we need to take our fan off on the front, which is the scale fan, and otherwise there's not a lot of prep to do on the nacelles. Most of the prep is going to be fixing all the little dents and dings and damage on the fuselage side. And I'm just putting all of the fasteners for the back end here in one of my magnetic trays, and that's going to keep everything together. And these guys should just slide out. We do need to unclip our fuel line, and there we go. Not bad at all. One of the nice things about all the modern turbines too is only having 2 leads go to the turbine, which is very handy. So basically we've got our fuel line and our single plug, which makes this install on the A10 not bad at all. So nacelle is off. 1 down, 1 to go. All right, so both of our nacelles are off, back end's all stripped, and we have pulled the cockpit canopy off and kind of getting the first look at the back end here for a while. It's been a while since we've opened this guy up. And quite a bit has changed with this aircraft as well too. So we do have, I can't remember where the compressor is. I think the compressor is in the front area here but or maybe there isn't a compressor, I can't remember. But anyways, we'll be adding the compressor in here, but to make that repair, the repair is underneath the main tray, so we will have to pull that tray out. I think we've got a decent amount of room from what I can remember, but we're gonna pull the cockpit out next, the front cockpit area as well too, the dash, so that's all got to come out, and that'll pretty much expose everything that we need. All right, so we got her pretty stripped down. We are making some changes in the receiver portion of things. So this aircraft is now going to be set up on the new G2 Jetty DS24. So we've pulled the 900 out of there. We are going to make a few changes on the wiring stuff, but ultimately the reason we did all the pullouts here was to expose the damage. Now the damage is right between that former and this plate that's glued in place for the air valves. Now I'm glad that it didn't go any further forward because this air valve plate is epoxied in place. That would have been a nightmare. So, but we've got access to everything. It's not great access, but we do have access to everything there. So I have put a little bit of masking tape on the outside. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we catch any epoxy or anything like that that oozes through. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put a couple drops of CA on the inside, medium CA, and that's just going to hold everything in place while we're moving this thing around. We will have some repairs to do on the outside, but of course, because we're painting, not a big deal. So that's what we're doing there. We've pulled the batteries out of the nose. Now the battery setup in here, like I mentioned, was sort of archaic. Now this aircraft was originally set up on JR, then it was switched over to Jetty. We kind of kept everything the same, and we've streamlined things a lot here. So here's the 900 that we've pulled out. We will have a bunch of these guys available for sale if anybody is interested or needs them, because we were pulling all these guys out of our planes that we don't need them anymore in. We've got, so initially there was 2 of these life batteries in here, these 5,000 milliamp life batteries. One was in the nose with a whole bunch of weight, and the other one was right in this area right there. So one of the changes we do on these A10s now is, like I mentioned, we're using 4 3-cell 4000s. But the other thing we'll do is we'll put the compressor in this area too. That's a great change because it moves more of the weight forward rather than back, and it almost eliminates 100% of the nose weight that's needed in this aircraft. So that'll be a change. Previously the compressor was mounted on top of the air tanks in the bottom of the fuselage right in this area, right underneath that tray right now. And the other thing we'll do is we'll pull some of those air tanks out and simplify the air system. So with the V-Speak compressors, Volker, the owner of V-Speak, actually says that he would prefer if people didn't use an air tank at all. That's okay. We like to run 1 or 2 air tanks in a scenario like this. So beginning of the day, you get to the field, if there's no air in your system, you use an external pump, you pump it up, then the V-Speak compressor just keeps it full for the rest of the day. So it's a really great system. So that's what we'll be doing on this, which is going to simplify things and clean up that back end a little bit. Access, of course, is a little difficult at this time because the fuselage isn't split, but that's all part of this process. All right, so we've cleaned up a little bit of the wiring here and given us better access to the repair area. That's what we're going to focus on first, is getting that repair done. But what we've done here is, again, taped up the outside. I'm going to take my Dremel and just very carefully roughen up the area around the big crack. So the crack is kind of shaped like a U, like this. And we're just going to roughen up that edge. Most of it is on that former joint, so we want to sand down the former and get that nice and exposed as well. And then once that's done, we're going to probably use some West Systems and some carbon cloth to complete that repair. All right, so carbon has been laid in there. We have a nice big long piece along the former, bunch of other pieces dealing with the cracks and everything, so that is good. What we need to do now is essentially just leave that to do its thing until tomorrow. So I think moving forward with this, just seeing how much fixes we need to do on the fuselage, I think what we're probably going to do is we're going to move into the painting of the rest of the aircraft. Now, I did purchase the paint for this in rattle cans. So I've got a supplier that I go to that does automotive paint for me. We did get this same color mixed up in containers, like 1 gallon containers, because we use them for a different project. But I also got some rattle cans mixed up. So on a project like this, the rattle cans are nice because you can do the tail section, the wing, you know, the other tail sections just piece by piece and not have to worry about, you know, doing everything all at once and getting your sprayer equipment out and everything like that. So it is one of those things that I like to do with the rattle cans. The rattle cans, if you get them from an automotive store, they work very well. So when we do this, really what we're doing is we're not painting the entire thing dark gray. So we'll kind of, you know, avoid this section as an example. We'll paint most of it with the dark gray, and then we'll come back and do our masking for the black areas. All right, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of all this stuff. So we've got our left vertical stab with our rudder on it, and in the background here we've got our nomenclature and decal kit. Now this decal kit came from Cali Graphics. Cali does a great job on the Black Snake scheme, so there's a little shout out there for Cali Graphics. Now we're doing a couple things with the vertical stabs here. So first of all, we have a repair to do on the other one. We'll talk about that. But with the marker lights here that are on the kit already, some of the marker lights are yellow, some of them are, like the vertical stab ones here, are white. So what we'll do on the yellow ones is most likely we're going to mask those off and keep them. For this one, because I want them to be yellow as well, we are going to plan on installing these guys when we're painted. Now, these marker lights are obviously too big, so we'll cut each of these pieces out individually and then put these on, and then they'll get installed before our clear coat. So that's how we're going to handle it. Most of the other ones on the fuselage, like these guys here, we'll mask those off and just keep the painted ones in place because it's nice and clean and simple and tight. So this left one is pretty much ready to go, other than obviously prepping the surface. The right one here, we've got a bit of a repair and some sanding to do on the bottom. So in this area on these surfaces, you can see how flexible they are. So it's very, very thin fiberglass. So these are prone to like the paint chipping right here, which is what happens. So we're gonna give this guy a bit of a sand job specifically in this area, and then we will roughen up the entire surface to prep it for paint. But we wanna get this all fixed up and sanded out before we prep this for paint. And to prep these guys out, we're using the Norton pads. I like these better than the steel wool because the steel wool tends to leave residue, I find. So I did some sanding on this guy with some 240 grit in the bottom area that was damaged. Also, we don't have any access to this area, so what I did was there's a hole right here in the former work, right down there. So what I did was I dropped some thick CA in there, sprayed some kicker, and let that form up on the bottom edge. And then I needed a little bit of reinforcement here, so I dropped some CA, holding that on an angle, sprayed some kicker in there, and now we're a lot stronger. Previously this was very flexible in here, and we've added quite a bit of strength just with the CA. I mean, ideally you'd want to use some glass or something, but we don't have any access, right? So it just makes sense to do it that way. So this one's all prepped and ready to go. So we'll give it a clean with some rubbing alcohol before we actually paint it. And then just so you can see what the process is, there's a clear coat on this, so that's what we're just roughening up. So I like to use the pad wet just to keep it nice and clean, and we essentially just give it a good rub down everywhere. There was a bunch of bugs on the leading edge, so you can see those bugs really come off. Now you don't want to use any sanding paper in this area because all that's going to do is remove your detail, and all we're looking to do is micro scratch the surface. And when we go over these rivets, it does take some of the paint off the rivets. So we've got all those surfaces done, and I'll just move the surface, get inside there. Now on a lot of aircraft, CARF, Skymaster, etc., there's going to be a pin in a surface like this. They have installed those pins and covered them over, so there's no easy way to take the surface off. That's why we're leaving the surface on. In a scenario like the flaps, we will remove the flaps because they are removable, and paint those separately. So that's all we're looking for, is just to create a nice texture. It's not even really textured, it's just scuffing up the surface a little bit. So it's not going to show up on camera, but this looks kind of a dull finish. In this, you can tell the clear coat has been installed in there, so not super obvious, but you can see it. And there we go. So both of the vertical stabs or rudders are ready to go. Now these are a fairly straightforward surface because they are all black on the scheme that we're doing. So these are going to be fairly simple to spray. And then the horizontal stab, or the elevator, the part that these mount to, that is all gray. So just a solid gray color. So that makes those fairly simple. So here is the tail section of the plane that's over there in the shop. A little hard to see on camera, but this is black, this is gray, and that's the difference there. Maybe that shows up. Yeah, that's more definitive right there. So pretty straightforward. Now when we're prepping off the horizontal stab, basically the same kind of thing. The only thing we are going to tape off really is these guys right here, but the rest of it is pretty simple. We'll get our little hatch covers prepped off here as well. That's those guys right there. All right, so we've rubbed these surfaces down with alcohol, 99% rubbing alcohol, and they are ready to go. So that's good. And here's a shot of our cans that we use. So these are, I'm assuming these are going to be available anywhere, but this is our specific can. Now, one of the things that is kind of unique about this, and this is on most aerosol cans, but if you take this nozzle, you can rotate it. So right now our spray pattern is going to be up and down. And if you rotate it, your spray pattern now becomes side to side. So that's cool. And then it's got an adjuster nozzle here, or adjuster lever on the end. So you go this way, it adds more material, less material. So you can adjust the flow with those, which is really nice. So anyways, that is the spray cans that we're using. So I'm going to get this shaken up nice and good, and we'll take this outside and give it a spray. Now, one of the nice things about doing scale aircraft like this is, you don't need a paint booth with some sort of amazing filtration system and dust-free environment and things like that. It's a scale aircraft. It's going to be sort of rough finished. I say that because it's not going to be like super glossy. And yeah, it's nice when you're doing scale aircraft like this. So anyways, I won't share the painting process so much with you guys, but I will share the masking process as we get into the areas where we do need to do the masking. So when you're doing the painting like this, you just want to keep it nice light coats. Always shake your cans really well. If you can warm these up, that also helps too, depending on the temperature and time of year you're spraying. We're in summertime right now. It's dry, not humid outside, so it should be fairly simple to spray. Now we do have some areas on this, like the Arkansas label and the white areas down here that may flash through, so we will just pay special attention to those. Generally what I'll do is I'll spray those areas first, let it flash off, and then we'll give a nice light coating to the entire surface. Now there's really nothing to prep on this guy because I'm happy if our rods get painted black and all of our other stuff that we didn't do any sort of painting on previously, and everything else is good. So we'll get this covered in black and I'll show you guys what it looks like in the next scene. All right, so our verticals are sprayed. We've got 2 coats on there, turned out perfect. That's wonderful. Dries nice and quick as well too. That automotive paint is good stuff. So anyways, those are done. Also did the cover plates as well. Cover plates are just sitting over there on a piece of plywood. And now we are ready to do the horizontal stab. So horizontal stab, we've done exactly the same thing, roughed it up with our Scotch-Brite pad, prepped off our carbon rods, prepped off our wires, and we're ready to spray this. Now when I spray this one, I'm going to start on the underside, lay it on my hood stand, and just spray the underside first, let it dry, flip it over, spray the top side, and pretty straightforward stuff. When you're doing this, I try and make sure that I focus on like the trailing edges here, the sides, the leading edges, all the stuff that's kind of hidden while you're doing it. And just after we've sanded these surfaces down, just want to share with you guys here, this water was clear afterwards, so it doesn't look like you're taking off much when you're using this Scotch-Brite pad, but you are taking off, you know, a lot of the clear coat and a lot of the roughness when you're prepping this off. All right, so horizontal stab is complete, and you can see the shiny difference, right? So the black paint, or the darker, I guess, black paint is kind of a matte finish, and this is almost a semi-gloss finish, and that's just the paint itself. So when you're using automotive paints like that, you want to make sure that you are planning on doing a clear coat, because they're not designed to not have a clear coat. So that is the finish difference right now is sort of irrelevant because the clear coat's going to be applied. So next thing we're moving on to is the engine nacelles. Now the engine nacelles, really not much different than what we just did. Basically what we're going to pay attention to is just the design, right? So we're kind of avoiding this area with all the lighter gray, and the black essentially comes from the base of the pod. So down here, wraps around, and the base of the door is right there. So we're coming to roughly the horizontal location is where the black is going to finish. But first thing we're doing is we're worrying about the gray. All right, and to get the fans out, it's pretty simple. There's an E-clip on the back side holding the shaft in place. The shaft has bearings on it, so we pop the E-clip out, and the fan is just going to pop forward. And there's a washer on the back side as well, so pull the washer off, and now this should pop off fairly easily. There we go. Just making sure I don't shoot it across the garage. So that's basically the turbo fan. We'll leave this guy on there, that guy on there, and we will put the E-clip back on so we know where it is. And that's that. So now we're ready to paint these guys. The bearings for this are on the actual turbo fan itself, or the fan, I guess we should call it. And that's basically it. So now we're going to get this prepped just like we did with the other surfaces, and we'll get this all ready. All right, now we've had one of the absolute wettest Julys on record. It's mid-August right now, and it's still wet. So the mosquitoes are nuts right now. So we've got the nacelles all ready to go, but as soon as I go outside, it's like a swarm of mosquitoes on me. So we're gonna leave those until maybe tomorrow. We're moving on to some other stuff in lieu of the mosquitoes. So we're working on our battery holders. So the original battery holder was designed around three 3300 milliamp 3 cells. So fortunately I was able to pop this side of the battery holder off, and we do have enough room in this location for 4 of the 3-cell batteries, and I think I'll be able to reuse this because we've got some space there. So I'm going to get this piece glued in place, and then we'll just kind of fill this in with some wood and then tack some support pieces on there as well too, and it'll look like nothing ever happened. So there's a little bit of space here on the fuselage, so we should be just fine with that. Nothing overly special with this, and then all of our plug layouts here on the front board is going to change as well too. So we're going to have 4 of our XT60 plugs that we have on our website. So those are those guys right there. So that's a nice layout, works really well for this, and we're gonna have have it all marked out exactly like that. So pretty straightforward stuff. The only thing that's going to be a little bit different is our airline fitting is still going to be at the back. But yeah, that's what this front section is going to look like, just like that. So the battery addition to the holder is done. That's epoxied like crazy in place. Pulled all the pylons off of the wings. We've got them marked, and just pulling the little scale details off and getting them all bagged up. Now the pylons, we were supposed to get another one of the outside pylons, which we did, but they were for the smaller size aircraft. So we're going to be skipping that outside pylon on the left wing and install the right wing one. But the owner is gonna have some of these on order, and we'll eventually get it installed, but not a big deal for now. So those are done and off. Now the wings are leaking actually the main gear, I should say, are leaking a fair bit of fluid here. So while I put this on the bench earlier today, there was actually fluid leaking out down here. So this is all new, which kind of sucks because we really have to make sure we clean that off well before we paint it. But the gear is also, as I've mentioned, doesn't have any air in it. So I suspect the oil is leaking out because it doesn't have any air in it. Now, hopefully we don't need new seals, but this plane's been sitting, I think, for about a year and a half before it's been flown or anything like that. So I think it's been a while. I don't think it was last year when we last flew it. I think it was the year before that. It could have been last year, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah, so gear we're gonna have to take a look at, but we do have to pull the gear off when we pull these guys off as well too. So yeah, so we're gonna be taking the gear out of the aircraft anyways, and very likely that we'll be taking a look at it, servicing it, etc. And hopefully it doesn't need new seals. If it does, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But all right, so we put our gray coat on our nacelles, and we just avoided the area that is going to get our black. There's going to be some overlap there, but it really doesn't matter. So we're just letting these guys cure right now, and then we will prep off the black areas. The black areas are pretty simple to follow as far as matching to the other guys go. But there's a shot of everything. This dries pretty quick, especially sitting out here in the sun. So, all right guys, and that's gonna wrap up video 1 in the spa treatment of the Skymaster A10. Obviously just painted the nacelles for the first color, and we will continue on in video number 2. We will continue with prepping our fuselage here to get things ready to go. We've got a bunch of repairs to do as well too. So thanks for following along. If you're interested in this stuff, this refit and refinish, thank you channel members for supporting the channel. If you're curious what channel membership is, channel members get early access to our videos as soon as they're uploaded to YouTube. They get to watch them. It is a paid thing, but thank you channel members for your support on the channel. And thank you everybody else for subscribing and watching my content. So we'll continue with video 2 very shortly. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.